And welcome back to not the week of Who Would Win. That's not for another two. I don't do that till the end of the month. Welcome back to Who Would Win. It's October, so it's Halloween themed, or at least horror-esque themed. And James Mox, and we're up to going down my list. And I know people give me requests all the time. I have a list of all you, but that means I cycle through everyone. So right now I'm at a certain spot. I'm gonna get to you eventually because I only have so much room in the notebook, so I can't just plant you somewhere. I gotta put you down the list. I'll get to everyone eventually for everything I can, but just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, so James Mox Trailers asked the question: who would win in a fight, Jigsaw or the Collector from? I believe it's the Collector, isn't it? Yeah, I'm using my laptop. It was the Collector, right? That was the actual movie and the character in the Collector horror movie. Yeah, the Collector, and then there was a Collector 2, I believe. Yeah. So both these guys are not your typical opponents in these fights. These guys aren't really going to be going head to head with each other per se. Like, hey, we're going to square off in the fight. Although, if they were to, because the actual Jigsaw is a man dying of cancer. Therefore, and the other guy is a guy who's probably middle-aged to some degree. And he actually is physically skilled enough to have some hand-to-hand experience, actually be able to fight fist to fist. He's good with knives, so he actually, and he's unlike Jigsaw, who's more sociopathic than psychopathic. Who he has a level of empathy for the human race. It's a fucking warped sense of it. But there is a slight level of empathy in him. It's just very buried underneath all his malice and discontempt. Whereas the Collector himself is, and I've got listed here, ruthless, fearlessness, psychopathic, as well as just overall being demented enough to enjoy torture. Here's the thing. That's a key difference with these two characters, that while they both have a lot of like torture designs set up, or torture traps set up for their opponent or their victims, the Collector gets off on it. But Jigsaw, I get the feeling that Jigsaw, it's kind of like Antoine Chigurh in No Country for Old Men. You get the impression they don't want to be doing it, but they feel they have to do it. And that's the big difference between the two of these guys. One's a sadist and a psychopath who gets off on it. The other's more of a sociopath and demented on some level, but doesn't feel like he's enjoying his work. But what this real fight's going to basically break down to is who's going to capture the other first to torture. Now, let's look at it this way. The Collector does his thing by going into people. He's an exterminator, legally. He goes into other people's houses to basically scope out their landscape, or goes into buildings where a lot of people are going to be, scopes out the environment, basically lays homemade traps all over the place for them, just so he can kill them or add them to his collection, things along those lines. Jigsaw, on the other hand, seems to be a lot more methodical in that he doesn't need to go into your home to get you. He will just find a way to get you, grab you, and put you in a test, put you in a scenario to torture you and test you. That's how Jigsaw operates. So really, when you break this down, the question is, who's going to catch the other to trap them in there? And we'll play at both angles. What if one's in one of the other's torture methods? And I'm getting a cramp in my leg. There we go. Nope, it's still there. Crap. Okay. I'm just gonna angle myself like this. All right, we're good. So long as I'm not in a certain angle, the cramp's not coming up. So actually, let me play it out for you first before I tell you what the more likely of the two is going to be. So, Jigsaw and the Collector's traps versus the Collector and Jigsaw's traps. If Jigsaw were to somehow be captured by the Collector in whatever capacity you wanted to find capturing by the Collector's standards, I feel as though Jigsaw would fare better than most in the Collector. Now, I've never watched those movies, I know he sets like a lot of just homemade traps. However, both these guys are trap and torture makers on some level. But their methodology about it is different. Like the whole place is booby trapped when it comes to Collector. You're already in some sort of life or death trap when you wake up with Jigsaw. So Jigsaw being trapped, and the Collector really doesn't say anything except he has one line in the second movie. Jigsaw being trapped by the Collector in a certain I feel as though Jigsaw would very quickly be able to come to the understanding of what's going on and probably be able to identify certain traps, at least certain traps in a room, because that's what he does. So he'd have probably a better chance of survival than most of a Collector's other victims. But Jigsaw is also a aging man riddled with cancer. So it's not like he's a fit in his prime of his life dude that could fight back against the Collector if the Collector so chose to go out, right out, kill him. That's not the case. In fact, he has more or less a death wish than anything else. He doesn't give a rat's ass if he dies. And right then and there shows you that the Collector probably would succeed in killing Jigsaw. However, Jigsaw would also very much succeed in killing the Collector. I'm almost certain about it because I've never seen really any of the movies, but I've seen more bits of Saw than I ever have the Collector movies. And seeing more of the traps that Jigsaw has put them through. And let's just go with that face mask, for instance. Now the Collector would here's the Collector wears like this foam mask, so Jigsaw would have to rip the foam mask off his face, which he'd do. He'd get it off his face. Like that mask that split their jaw open. Would the Collector? How was that someone supposed to? Weren't you supposed to pop your eye out because he took out your eye and then put it back? Was that the one? I feel like that was the case. Yeah. Like there's two keys. Yeah, I think it was one was inside a living person, which the Collector would have no problems in killing the person to get the key. That was behind his eye. I don't know if the Collector actually would have the balls to do that. I really don't. I mean, he's psychotic and sociopath and psychopathic and fearless and ruthless, but I don't know if would really have the gumption to do that. Also, you have other tactics like the saw blade that eventually, the pendulum that eventually cut the guy's guts out, or the acid that got poured into the guy, or the gun through the keyhole kind of stuff. Frankly, the way that Jigsaw's traps are designed are more personal than the way that the Collector's traps are designed. Collector's traps are just booby traps in the area, so if anyone, it's designed for anyone, whereas his traps are a bit more personal, Jigsaw's. They're a bit more intimate. So I feel like both these guys could probably easily kill the other if they had them within each other's traps. The Collector might be able to manage his way through a couple of them, depending where he started out, but ultimately, I don't think the Collector could make it out alive. But the question, again, comes, who is more likely to trap the other? And my answer to that is going to be Jigsaw. Because the real catch of it is that Jigsaw doesn't need to go inside your house to learn about you and booby trap you, or go into a area to booby trap you. He needs to see you, just know your habits and where you're going to be, and eventually he'll find a way to kidnap you. That's all he's got to do. Whereas the Collector, yeah, he might be able to do the same, hypothetically speaking, but he's more inclined to stake out, actually scope out, surveil the place he's going to install the traps, the people, where they live, all that. He's more inclined to do that, and he doesn't even know who Jigsaw. Maybe in this universe they've heard of each other, sure, know of each other's existence, but it's not like he knows who Jigsaw is. It would be happenstance that he'd have to come along Jigsaw for that to happen, which means the more likely is Jigsaw is scoping out people, and he eventually finds the Collector, because the guy in the second one actually found out who the Collector was, actually, and he claimed pretty easy. And I read that up, and I even have it in front of here, because I had the Collector 2 is basically, the Collector returns to his home and turns on the radio, and then basically Arkin has tracked him down. He reveals the knowledge of the Collector's background, states that it wasn't hard, and it gets the liar to face him, basically. And this is where the Collector says his only spoken line in either movie. So Yeah, it's apparently if you know how to look for the collector, it's not that hard to find the collector. Whereas Jigsaw was extremely difficult to find, and even then he had like backups for a while until he eventually died. So I would go Jigsaw in this fight. In this versus, I'd have to go Jigsaw because Jigsaw would have the easier time kidnapping the collector and putting him through his trials, and the collector would finding Jigsaw and putting him through them. And then for the case of, who comes out on top more often, for who's got the better chance of surviving, I'll go the collector on the simple grounds that he's younger and more fit than Jigsaw is, and Jigsaw has less qualms of dying, so there's that as well. But yeah, I'm not really going to give a percentage. I'm going to say the winner's Jigsaw in this case, more often than not. Who has the better chance of surviving? I'd go the collector, but what's the more likely scenario because of who's got the better chance of kidnapping the other? Jigsaw, in my opinion. Anyway, but that's my thoughts on that. What do you think? Do you think the collector wins more often? Or do you think Jigsaw wins more often? Do you think it's... I didn't give a percentage, but yeah, do you who do you think is closer in this fight? Yeah, what do you think is the most likely chance that they have to win? Who's going to win the more times? Let me know in the comments below. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who will win Star Wars, Superhero, Magic, what if, anything I do on the channel, put that in the comments below as well. I'll get to that at some point. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Later.